Hello and welcome to my take on the Eltec penny mod. Now it's technically not a penny used for this mod, it's actually copper tape, but same thing. First saw this idea on a channel by the name of Shining Eternity, decided to put my own little twist on it. Now for this mod, we're going to be using copper tape instead of a penny as our spacer in between the sensors. And for my version, I'm using trading cards, in this case Magic the Gathering cards, as a way of holding the copper in between the sensors so that it works instead of just like folding the tape over and over and over on itself. Um, this way you can choose the exact thickness that you want and have that be consistent. And yeah, so what I'm going to go ahead and show you now is I have an input viewer up, and on this panel right here you can see whenever I press it down, button 1 will trigger. Right there. Now, you're obviously going to have to take the arrow off. This is what my sensor looks like. Stock, no mod, no nothing to it. And with the acrylic, or the arrow panel on, this 5-pound weight does not activate the button. I still have to push down in order for it to actually trigger the sensor. So what we do, taking the arrow back off, is you'll notice right here there's a gap in between the two panels, and that's where you want to go ahead and set the copper. So you take your 1 card or 2 cards, however thick you're going to end up needing it. You'll have to play around with a little bit. In this case it's 2 cards thick. Put a band of the copper tape all along the edge. Well, this card is the one I'm actually using for this one. All the way around. And then slip that copper right in between the 2 panels. And what's nice about using a card too is you can butt it up against the edge right here, and you'll always get the exact same spacing on all the arrows for where the copper is, so you can get the same sensitivity to a degree. I also use a piece of duct tape just to keep it in place, because I do move this pad frequently. From laying down to up in storage, and putting a piece of tape there means it's not going to move around at all. So now with the card in there and the copper, if I put the arrow back on, you can see that now putting the 5 pounds on immediately triggers it. I could just barely push on the pad and it'll trigger it. If I were to take the card out, put the arrow back on, me hitting the arrow on the corner does not trigger the sensor. But with the little card shim placed inside and taped down, now the corner is very, very responsive. Also, the nice thing about doing it like this is if you need to shift the card in towards the center or out more to adjust sensitivity, you can. I actually originally tried with 2 cards and then realized that I only needed the 1 per sensor, because even up here it takes a very, very light touch now in order to actually activate, even though we only put the copper on this side. The one thing to keep in mind is whether you use 1 or 2 cards for the spacer itself, when you screw the panel back down, you might still get triggering of the sensor itself. And if that's by tightening the screws all the way down, and if that's the case, you just back the screws off just a little bit. If they're not all the way down, like you can still get your nail underneath, then maybe just go down to a single card. Past that, the placement of where you put the card, I always would just suggest on the inner sections of the arrows, like on this back panel, I only, if I can even get it out, I only have one right there. On this side, I just have the one card here, and on the arrow up here, I just have the one card here. I found I don't need one as much for the center just yet, but I might add a very small strip in there, but it was really the corners that seemed to need the mod. So yeah, that is what I did. Also, don't mind this janky setup. It's just to show this. Yeah. Thanks for watching and have a good day.